In this lecture, we are going to start adding some code. We'll start by creating some variables. Let's open up our code. So in the design view, make sure you've got the form selected. Make sure the properties says form 1, and then click on view and click on code. You can also hit F7 on your keyboard, and that should give us the skeletal code. So this is the top level of the code structure. The picture box is designed mainly to display pictures, but we want to use it to draw images. And the way we're going to achieve this is by using a bitmap format to do the drawing. So what that means is that we'll do all the drawing onto a bitmap and then display the bitmap in the picture box component, which will be displayed in the main window. So for this to work, the bitmap needs to be persistent. What this means is that the same modified bitmap should be accessible from any method. A method, in a way, is a function from any method we choose to create in our application. And this involves what is known as a scope. A scope basically is the area where you can access a method or function from. For example, if we created the bitmap in a method attached to the picture box component, it would be destroyed automatically when the application leaves that method, and any changes we made to the picture box would be lost. But if we create the bitmap higher up the hierarchy, which is somewhere here, if we create that higher up in the hierarchy, creating it higher up in the hierarchy in a method, what that happens that method will then be inherited by each application component. So if it is way up in the hierarchy, it can be inherited by other components that uses the application. That way it will be available to all of them. So it will only be created and destroyed when the application is started and stopped. So this is the most efficient way to create such methods. So we're going to do that now. So doing it this way will create a new bitmap each time the application loads, and it also means that the data contained within that bitmap will also be accessible to every method in the application. So let's define the variables. I'm just going to define it up here so that it can be accessible to all applications. So let's define the bitmap variable first. So type in bitmap, which will be the type, space, followed by the name. We're calling it BMP. I'm going to set that, we're going to create a new instance of that. And to do that, you type in the word new, and type in the word bitmap. All right. And we're going to pass it some resolution. This is the standard resolution that most screen use. But you can change that if you want. By setting the resolution, that means you'll be only able to draw within this dimension. So if you draw outside that, some of your drawings may appear on the edges. So this is just specified for this application, but you can tweak it if you wish. So the code we've written here on line 15 creates a bitmap that I have called BMP, and I've also defined the size to be 1024 by 768. This is a common screen resolution. What this means is that we can only draw on a canvas of this size. So if your Windows is any bigger, you won't be able to draw into the edges because of the screen size we have defined here. I'm just going to add two other variables so that they can be accessible from anywhere within the application. I'll add them on, then I'll explain what they do in a minute. So this will be a pen. I'll give it the letter P. I'll create a new instance with the word new, and then pass it some parameters. And I'll create another variable which would be a Boolean value, which means true or false, and I'll set the default to false. So the other two variables I've created here is the pen. So this pen here represents the pen color, so that any of the palette buttons, the colors on the form, can be changed using that pen color. And the next variable here I've set here is the drawing. Basically what this will do, we'll set this, I haven't set that yet, we'll set this so that whenever the left mouse button is held down over the picture box, it will, it will activate a drawing. So we'll do that. We'll activate that via the picture box property. So let's switch back to the design view and click on make sure you've got the picture box selected. It should say picture box 1. So click on this event, this thing that looks like a lightning bolt. What we're trying to do here, we need to create a method that will simply toggle the value of the drawing Boolean, because the Boolean is either true or false. So we want a method that will toggle between the values of the drawing. So when the mouse button is depressed, it gives a different value, and when it is released, it gives a different value. To do this, we need to look for the mouse event. So this is the mouse down. So where you've got the mouse down, this is where we want to specify the code that will control this event. So double click on the mouse down event, and that should open up this event handler there. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to change the name of this method from mouse down to mouse click. And the reason I've changed the name, because I want it to be used by the mouse up event as well. So when the user releases the mouse button, it will also, activate the code. I'm going to quickly write some conditional statement here, an if statement that will display, display a certain code based on the action of the user. So the conditional statement I've written here, this is a conditional statement. Basically what it's saying that if this variable here is accessed, the drawing, the default is false. Else, if it's not false, then the drawing will be true. So based on the mouse click, on the mouse click or the mouse down key, based on the button the user presses, it will activate either of this code based on that. So that's it. We are going to end this lecture here, and in the next lecture we'll carry on writing some more code. So I'm going to save that because we've got some yellow strips here, and we'll progress with further code in the next lecture. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.